In this video, we start chapter 11, which is the second part of the credit risk discussion. And in this chapter, we will be mostly discussing about loan portfolio and concentration risk. The model discussed in the previous chapter describe alternative ways by which a financial institution manager can measure the default risk on an individual debt instrument such as the loans and bonds, rather than looking at credit risk on one loan at a time. The focus of this chapter is to provide financial institutions managers with technique to measure credit risk in a loan portfolio context and to recognize the benefits from loan portfolio diversification. So the risk return characteristics of each loan in the portfolio are a concern for financial institutions, but the risk return of the overall loan portfolio with some of the risk of the individual loans diversified affects on financial institutions' overall credit risk exposure. So we will discuss simple models of loan concentration and also the portfolio theory with regard to loan portfolio. So as I already discussed, that in this chapter, we will mostly discuss the credit risk associated with a loan portfolio rather than discussing the credit risk of an individual loan. The main idea behind discussing this separately is the portfolio theory. Those who have done your portfolio management course, you might know that when we put different loans in a portfolio, then the risk associated with one loan may not be important. Rather, that loan's contribution to the overall riskiness of the portfolio is important, because the different loans in a portfolio may be negatively correlated or maybe less than perfectly positively correlated. Therefore, there will be some offsetting element, there will be some offsetting feature. That's why the total risk of a portfolio will be less than the weighted average risk associated with individual loans. So risk of a loan portfolio can be measured by simple models of loan concentration risk, diversification of a loan portfolio, and regulatory models. First of all, simple models of loan concentration risk. Financial institutions widely employ two simple models to measure credit risk concentration in the loan portfolio beyond the purely subjective model of we have already lent too much to the borrower. The first is migration analysis. That means the first simple model is migration analysis. So in migration analysis, lending officers track different benchmark credit rating agencies' ratings, for example, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, or Fitch rating of their own or internal credit rating of certain pools of loans or certain sectors. If the credit rating of a number of firms in a sector or rating class declines faster than has been historically experienced, financial institution cartel lending to that sector or class. Okay, for example, if a financial institution finds that the credit rating in the real estate sector is declining at a higher rate compared to what it has been in the recent years, then the financial institution may curtail their loan in the financial sector and the real estate sector and can move this loan to elsewhere. A loan migration or loan migration matrix, or it's also called transition matrix, which I can see here, reflect the historic experience of a pool of loans in terms of their credit rating migration over time. As such, it can be used as a benchmark against which the credit migration patterns of any new pools of loan can be compared. So in this table, you can see a hypothetical credit migration matrix or table in which the loans are graded into 3 rating classes. So most financial institutions use 9 or 10 rating classes. The rows in this table, I mean the rows, so I'm talking about these, the rows in this table list the grades at which the portfolio loans began the year, and the columns, so I'm talking about here, the columns list the grades at which the portfolio ended the year. The numbers in the tables are called transition probabilities, reflecting the average experience of loans that began the year, say the remaining grade 2 at the end of year being upgraded to a 1, being downgraded to a 3, defaulting. So let me give you an example. Let's say that for the loan that began the year, the rating triple B, it actually a loan you are considering which started its rating with a rating of triple B. Historically, on an average, the 12% of this triple B rated loan is upgraded to triple A at the end of the year. 83% of them remains the same. 3% of them is downgraded to triple C, and 2% of them downgraded to D. Okay, so this actually shows the probability at which it's upgraded and the probability at which it's downgraded at the end of the year. Now, when you are evaluating a loan with a triple B rating and you see that there is a 3% chance that it can be downgraded to C, or 2% chance that it can be downgraded to D. Now, if you find that recently this rating is such that the probability that it will be downgraded has been increased compared to what it happened historically. For example, although the historical rate is 3%, if you find that more recently the 10% of the triple B loans are downgraded to triple C, it means that this rate is much higher than what it has been historically. So you will curtail your loan to triple B rating, and probably you will shift your fund to more highly credit rated loans, for example, triple A rated. The second simple model is the concentration limit. So this second simple model requires management to set some firm external limit on the maximum amount of loans that will be made to an individual borrower. So financial institution determines concentration limits on the proportion of the loan portfolio that can go to any single customer by assessing the borrower's current portfolio, its operating unit's business plan, its economic projections, and its strategic plans. Typically, financial institutions set concentration limit to reduce exposure to certain industries and increase exposure to others. So when two industry groups' performance are highly correlated, and financial institution may set an aggregate limit of less than the sum of the two individual industry limits. So financial institutions typically set geographic limits as well. So they may set aggregate portfolio limit or combination of industry and geographic limits. So this is how we calculate the concentration limit. You can see concentration limit is maximum loss as a percentage of capital and 1 divided by loss rate. So if we take an example that, let's say that a bank has decided the maximum loss they can afford to in a particular sector is 10%. And in that sector, estimated loss for each dollar of lending is 40 cents. So maximum loss in that sector as affordable is 10%, and 1 by 0.4. 0.4 is the per dollar loss if a loan defaulted in that sector. And you can see if we calculate it 25%, it means that the maximum loan that can be provided to this sector is 25%. Okay. So this is the most simple model of loan concentration. Now, one last point, that bank regulators also limit loan concentration to individual borrower to a maximum of 10% of a bank capital, according to the current regulation. Basel II framework recognizes this is as an issue of granularity, meaning that if banks hold relatively large exposure to an individual borrower or sector relative to a reference portfolio they have devised, then risk weighting required in the capital to be held will be adjusted up or down to reflect the levels of portfolio concentration or diversification. So this is the end of our discussion on the simple models of loan concentration. In the next video, we will be discussing other models for the portfolio of loan. Thank you very much.